up, guys? Welcome back to the Deviant Gentlemen podcast. We have part 2. My name is Shane Vitko, alongside my co-host, Mr. Tommy Vext.
What's up, everybody?
And we got the guys still from Hard to Kill. We got Matt, Aaron, and Thomas, all representing Hard to Kill Fitness. And we decided that we still got a lot more shit to talk about. So here we are.
All right.
So I want to jump into, Aaron, you live in Portland.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Tell me what's going on with that. What is that like?
Absolute chaos. So, I mean, going back, everyone knows what's going on. I'm surprised that Portland has reacted the way that they did.
Like, why has it been Portland? Why not L.A.
I don't know.
or Minnesota?
I mean,
or,
you could
like,
say Antifa. You could say they're far left.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say a number of things. But I went out a few times to see what actually was happening, because, you know, the media will do
Right.
they'll do their thing.
Right.
But as far as, like, the BLM movement and all that shit, like, I don't see it. I just see a bunch of kids with skateboards and security T-shirts just raising hell.
Are they mostly white, though?
They're mostly white.
Yeah.
I got interviewed. I forget his name. A guy from the New York Times pulled me to the side at one of the protests, and he asked me what I was doing out there because I didn't fit the demographic of the rioters.
Yeah.
Because you were African American.
Because I was African American.
I mean,
Strange.
I saw that one video from Portland where literally it was two African American females and they were talking to two Antifa protesters and they're like, please stop fucking spray painting these fucking walls because you're not representing us. That's not what we're out here actually trying to like protest and like be like that, this silent, and you guys are out spray painting this shit and like you don't stand for what we stand for, like, at all.
Yeah, well, that to me, it just falls under the category of domestic terrorism.
That's exactly what it is.
It's not like a revolutionary movement. You know, these people are pawns. They're easily manipulated. They're overly emotional, and they, you know, it's like a lot of them are. You could see the personality types when you look at these people. There are a lot of people who maybe. Who I would have like hung out with in the punk rock scene.
Yeah.
The people who are overlooked by society, don't really fit in, don't want to conform. You know, the way that they create identities for themselves is to be the antithesis of anything. You know, so they truly have no identity. So this is a thing for all those kind of lost people to be under a banner. And, you know, and it's like binding together the hate of Trump. It's like that. You really need to call it what it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's
but
like
you saying that thing about domestic terrorism. How hard do you think it is as us being ex-soldiers about taking an oath about protecting this country from all terrorists, foreign and domestic?
Well, that's so they first of all, they killed a man a couple nights ago.
The
in Portland.
protesters or
the protesters? They
they're
murdered a man in
anarchists. They're not
cold
protesting
blood,
anything.
Yeah.
right?
So they're labeled
But
protesters
they'll
by
never-
the media
right.
and by the Democratic governors and mayors because they want them to continue the unrest, because what they symbolize is what basically why the unrest is allowed to exist is because we're coming up on an election and it symbolizes Trump's lack of leadership. But the lack of leadership is largely due to the fact that the governors and the mayors are allowing this to happen under their jurisdiction.
So is it go two ways, where this happens to election, Democrat wins, all that shit goes away, or Trump gets reelected?
It doesn't go away.
Trump
It
gets
gets
reelected
10 times worse?
Civil war.
Yeah. The day if he wins the election, the protests will they'll start happening again.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think it's going to be like it was. I think it's going to be 10,000 times worse.
oh yeah,
It'll
yeah,
be
yeah.
way
But
worse.
what's the solution to that?
But-
Is that like the military gets fucking
Yeah, but to
activated?
answer your question, it's kind of difficult because, and Matt, you can touch on this too. We deploy to protect our country.
right?
So you got troops who are walking around the streets of Los Angeles, Georgia, you know, soon to be Portland, fighting your own people per se. It's kind of like a mental warfare at that point, because you have to fight with yourself to say, is this right that I'm, you know, fighting Americans right now?
Right.
When there's shit going on over here, like these people are killing our brothers and now we're killing each other. It's hard to watch from our perspective. You know what I mean? I hate seeing what's happening in our country.
I know.
To it, bottom line, you know, like
Yeah.
if we're going to classify these guys as domestic terrorists, then are we going to treat them as so?
Yeah.
You know, I know when I was overseas and we were going after Al Qaeda, Jaish al-Mahdi, Taliban, ISIS, they were classified as terrorists. Those are capture kill missions.
I think if there's one, I mean, for example, the entire Antifa movement will collapse within itself if you send a 12 minutes of a team going into Chaz and just executing
100%.
everyone,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then once they're like, okay, people are coming in here and they're killing all of us, they're like, I'm going back to my computer.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're going to do.
Put them in Guantanamo
They're
Bay.
not. These aren't soldiers.
No.
They're not revolutionists. They're not from a third world country. They haven't cut their teeth surviving on the street their whole lives. These are the offspring of the affluent. They're not truly poor. They're kids who run away from their parents because they don't. They're raging against the proverbial machine of their father figures with Trump. And
But I mean, is there?
But
how is there any way that this ends civilly?
I don't know.
I mean, people are gonna die,
I mean,
right?
people are already dying.
No,
a lot
so-
of people
Yeah.
died.
So-
You
and
look 4th of July weekend, 8 little kids were killed.
Yeah, in Atlanta, right?
No,
that
all
in-
over
oh, yeah,
Chicago,
Atlanta, and New York.
Yeah, I saw that.
Leadership, it's going to take reform at the highest level down to the lowest level. You
Yep.
know, California, we're letting so many guys out of the prison system, and they're just going out and doing the same thing. We've seen how many reports where this guy was
Yep.
released because of COVID, goes and rapes 4-year-old, kills mother. There's
That's-
got to be a time where you say,
But-
enough is enough.
Right.
But you're not going to have that because basically
tyrant as a
people
governor.
we have two political parties. The Democrats will destroy America if they can't win. And these are the politicians. They don't care if they let people out of prison. They don't care if people get murdered and raped. They don't care if they burn down businesses. They don't care if they decimate the middle class. They don't care. All they care about is that they get rid of Trump and they reassume their power. And they don't even have a candidate. I mean, dude, Joe Biden was on one. Was it yesterday? He was like, his wife gave this really nice talk about him, and then he came out and was like, "Hi, I'm Joe Biden's husband," and you're just like, "Bro, what are we watching?
Yeah.
What are we watching?" And the
Yeah.
question to me is that, why is the DNC so? Why don't they have anyone? They have no one.
No.
You got and then AOC is like endorsing Bernie Sanders. I'm like, he's not even running for president. What are you talking about? The party is it's a fucking circus.
Yeah.
And it's like all you hear about is Trump did this, Trump did that. And dude, we all know what's up with Trump. I wish he didn't have Twitter. He says all crazy shit. And people who are conservative, don't say anything about Trump. Listen, fuck you. I'm an American.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's bullshit going on both sides. And it's like, I don't really know. I don't know where this is going. The polls again, they're doing the same thing they did. Everyone has amnesia. They're doing the same thing they did with the last election. The polls were like, oh, Biden's up. And I'm like,
No.
and what this is going to do is if he doesn't win,
Yeah.
which I don't think he can without the ballots being rigged, I don't think he can. I don't think he can win.
What do you
I don't
thi-
think a
what-
lot of people are going to vote.
Yeah, I don't
what do you
think so
What do you
either.
think about the fact that Trump's trying to shut down the USPS, and then you got this side of people going, they employ the most veterans. All these people are going to be out of work. All this that, and it's like, is that wrong or is what he's doing correct? Because mail-in ballots is, I put a post up the other day about something that said I have to vote the same way a fucking colonial soldier sent a love poem to his girlfriend back home. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you got to look at the mail-in ballots two ways, right? Because when we're overseas, we can do the mail-in ballots. So you look at it that way. I see that argument. The problem I have with the mail-in ballots is that in the technology age that we're in, right? Everything we're saying here is recorded. So in 10 years, you can look back at it and say whatever. When you have the same people on stage right now saying, we need to do mail-in ballots, we have to, COVID, blah, blah. And you look back 12 years ago, and those same motherfuckers are the ones going, this is so unconstitutional, mail-in ballots, there's no way, we would never do that. It's like, okay, well, what line do you, are you senile? Are you and that's the problem that you have with the Democratic Party.
The Democratic Party are speaking to the uneducated, the unaware, that's who they're talking to. And those who are very involved and very much hate Trump. So you have it's almost like Trumpism is it's like a form of racism. So nothing that the right says can be right because Trump.
Right.
Right. So it's literally his personality and lack of leadership, if you want to call it, is so abhorrent and distasteful to certain personality types that they would line up for they would line up to do anything the DNC suggested, including wearing masks everywhere and doing all this stuff that the literal scientists that are telling you, just like you said, that are telling people to do these things, said they don't even work anyway, and that it's just a symbol of compliance. Wearing a mask literally means you're with Joe Biden. Yeah. It's a political thing. It is. It has nothing to do with public health. There's raves going on in Wuhan, China.
Oh
These motherfuckers have to have the antidote. They have to have something. They're like having full-on concerts, and they're with swimming pools, and they're dancing and shit.
The problem with COVID that I have, right, is that you've been told all this stuff, and so herd immunity has to be 80 to 90%. We're not even at 10% yet. This thing's not spreading rapidly. It's not really killing people. On a grand scheme of things, when we talk about everything, it's not really killing people. So now the argument is, well, we have to wear masks until we reach herd immunity. We're never going to reach herd immunity. That'll never fucking happen. Like, it'll never happen.
It would take a decade. We went to eat last night, and where you check in was maybe 6 feet to our table. Wear the mask to the table. Once you get to the table, take the mask off. If you have to get up and go to the bathroom or leave, put the mask back on.
It's psychological.
You should have saw Shane when they made him put his face in the temperature thing, dude.
Dude, we went to a restaurant. Not only are you covered with a mask, you put your face up to this thing that's got an outline of your face, and it tells you what your temperature is with a fucking mask on. It's like
somebody's making fucking.
They just want to know what you look like with the mask on, dude. You're done. It's over.
They're probably recording your fucking face.
Yeah,
dude, I did not.
Look at what's happening in Australia. Is having the worst lockdown of any country. They've had 300 deaths total, and the whole state of Victoria, which means the city of Melbourne, you're allowed out 1 hour a day to get groceries or exercises. You are not allowed more than 5 kilometers from your house. There are police.
Sounds like jail.
If you drive past 5 kilometers of where you are, all the bridges and roads have checkpoints. You have to have documentation to show the police that you are an essential worker. If you'll call, the police are beating people in the streets for not wearing a mask. And we have people in America here who are like, this, that, the other. I'm like, dude. And if you want to know, and I'll tell you from the entertainment industry, Australia is everything in the entertainment industry gets tested on the Australian people first, because they're very close to being Americans. They just don't have guns. And they're a little more chill and a little like not as much like, they're not. That's not their vibe. So they've successfully convinced all these people to do this shit. And now it's already coming down the pipe. They're gonna have mandatory vaccinations.
Yeah,
and they're doing contact tracing technology. Yeah. So there are businesses for workers, like the employees.
I never thought Shirley Max would sound like a fucking better stop.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. And like, they're gonna scan people's faces and then report to their superiors if they are not practicing social distancing in the office.
Have you guys seen that at other places? That shit.
Do you see what they're doing in Maine right now?
That's the first time I've seen that.
Yeah, the servers in Maine are wearing like dog cones.
Oh yeah.
So that when they cough, it goes up, or they breathe, it goes up.
I'm just letting you know, man. Catch me in Belize, dude.
I just want to go somewhere where I get served by a human wearing a dog cone.
You got to go home then.
There's a club in Germany. I can
tell you.
Yeah. So they come on all fours with the food on their back.
I think the problem, though, honestly, overall, is that like I'm super moderate, man. I have a lot of liberal fucking values. I really do, but moderate liberal value. So that's the problem. Is that like a lot of us feel, I think, suppressed a little bit right now, and that's the problem when you talk about the polls, right? A lot of people really aren't. It's going to be the same shit. A lot of people really aren't talking now, but a lot of people are probably going to vote Trump because they're like, dude, you see Biden talk, and you're like, what the fuck? And then you have these people.
But again, it's like what Tommy said and what we've talked about before, that is the majority going to be more people that don't give a fuck if they put Alf in office as long as it's not Trump?
I mean, I don't know.
Or is it going to be people that go,
I
at least...
feel like it is.
You're really voting for Kamala Harris, which is a nightmare if you know
idea.
who she is
Yeah.
and her policies. I mean, she made her career off putting African American men in jail.
And keeping them there.
Yeah. Because she's in bed with the industrial prison complex. Yeah. So what that looks like to me is that if the Democrats win the election. Joe Biden's got a couple of months before he's deemed unfit or kicks the bucket. She steps in. Then the same thing that we saw in Australia happens, mandatory vaccines, and dissenters, people who refuse to get vaccinated, will be incarcerated.
Well, she's on record. There's a quote, you can Google it. She's on record as saying that we will remember the ones that voted against us, and you will pay for it. That's an actual quote from her.
And that's who we're voting
Send her
for.
my address.
Yeah, yeah. She can come by me any day.
But that's what's going to happen. I mean, you see people. The conspiracy theorists are all, people are going out and filming these Walmart turned FEMA camps. And FEMA started hiring all these people, like tens of thousands of people are getting hired by FEMA.
Yep.
Why? Why are all these camps on train tracks too?
Yeah. Well, have you
it's very weird.
Have you ever actually looked this shit up? Like the actual train, dude.
Yes.
They end up in literally they go north and it stops at a concentration camp. You can look all this shit
I feel
up.
like they did this somewhere else before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
Snowpiercer is pretty good. Eating that those bars. Ugh.